regarding regional appeal governance. This is direction required. Mayor Crombie.
Well, I thought I'd take another try at this because it's important. It's important for everyone. It's particularly important for Brampton. And in light of the circumstances in Brampton and the austerity measures and really the downsizing that's occurring in Brampton, and we commend you for that. I think that's terrific. It wouldn't be the right time to add 4 councillors in Brampton and 4 councillors in Mississauga. I don't think there's any appetite on the part of the public to add 8 politicians to Peel Regional Council. So we're asking you to consider the motion that Mississauga supported, which would give Brampton the representation it needs, adding 2 more representatives, which is moving us a little bit closer to representation by population. I mean, if we don't get this done by December, then Brampton Council will be without enhanced representation for a period of 6 years. The 2 more this year, this term, and 4 more years in the next term. Because if we don't get this done by December, you won't have that representation, and we're offering it to you now. But we can't do it. It would require one of you to reopen the motion, 2/3 of us to pass it, and then we can all work towards together in the spirit of compromise, cooperation, and collaboration to get this done. It's in your interests, so you can have more enhanced representation on the Brampton Council. I know it's difficult. I know it's not what you ideally want, but at the same time, it's a step forward, and it does give you enhanced representation, moving us closer to representation by population. I think it's a great step. I think it speaks to the bigger agenda of what you're doing at Brampton with your downsizing as well. The motion option 2 was unrealistic. It was unreasonable, and what we're offering is something much more practical. But the clock is ticking, and so I thought I'd go at this one more time. Councillor Parrish presented our motion one more time to council. We all voted on it unanimously, and when it does, the option that was passed, I've forgotten the number, comes back to Mississauga for ratification. We will veto it, and then we'll be stuck where we are today. The status quo will continue to exist. So why don't we collaborate? Why don't we cooperate? And why don't we compromise so that you can get at least 2 councillors for the next term? With the idea that in the future, as your population grows, you will add 2 more. But it doesn't merit that today. So we're asking you today to cooperate with us, reopen the motion. We can pass it today. We're all willing to do it. We're willing to give you 2 more councillors. Then you'll have it done by December, which is the deadline that the province has insisted that you need to have this done by December, so that for the next election you can have 2 more councillors at your table. So we're asking you today to reopen it. We'll vote for it with you and we can move on. Otherwise, when it comes back to Mississauga, it's vetoed, it's gone, it's done, and the next 2 years and the 4 following, we're going to have the status quo, which works for us, but I know isn't fair to your residents. So that was my piece. I'm just offering it to you. I know Mississauga would like to collaborate with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Crombie. Okay, Councillor Miles is on the board, and then
the reason I want to interject here
okay.
is the clerk and I had a conversation about procedure on this. It's actually December 31st, 2017 that you have to conclude by, but I think the clerk can explain what motions are available today, if you would let her do that.
yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So there's an existing motion which was passed on June 23rd to change the composition of council, and it set out the numbers, and it was option 2. In order to reopen that discussion, there are a couple of options available, but any option that you choose requires a 2/3 vote. One option is to rescind the previous motion. So that rescission would require a 2/3 vote. And if there is a rescission, then the previous motion no longer exists. It's like it didn't happen and there's no further action taken on that motion. Then the issue can be brought back to council as if it was new and have a further discussion about any of the options. Another option would be to bring a motion to council to consider a motion contrary to a motion that was already passed. It doesn't, in effect, cancel the previous motion, but what it does is say you're going to reconsider in a different meeting a decision that is contrary to the one that's already existing. And that motion to consider a contrary motion also requires a 2/3 vote. So in order to bring the issue back to this table, there is a 2/3 vote required. A third option is to actually bring a motion that is contrary in substance, so with a new option, a different option than the one that exists, then that motion itself also requires a 2/3 vote. With either the first two options, the rescission or the motion to consider a motion contrary, the 2/3 vote is on the process of reopening, basically. And then the motion that would be brought with an alternate option for the composition of council would only require the usual 51% plus. It would not be a 2/3 vote. The motion that would be contrary in substance to the existing motion that actually contained the option, if you didn't go through the procedural steps, would require the 2/3 vote. I just wanted to be clear that no matter what, there's a 2/3 vote. Yeah.
If I may just ask, I understood the deadline to be this December because of all the public consultations that need to occur and and it would have to go through the OMB. So to have this right for the next election, I thought there was a 2-year window, not a 1-year window.
The legislation is that it has to be, whatever process has to be done, the triple majority, passing the bylaw, the public meetings, et cetera, needs to be completed by December 31st, 2017. It's the year before, December 31st on the year before the year of the election. Now, there's practical concerns about how long it would take to go through all of the steps necessary in order to achieve that December 31st, 2017 goal, but the legislation is in place, done, completed, ready to go by December 31st, 2017.
You might just outline what those consultations, what that process looks like. There are public consultations in the region, in the different municipalities, and then we'd have to go to the OMB, I understand, as well.
The Municipal Act sets out a step-by-step process on what happens. Once council passes a choice of an option, there's a request that goes off to the minister for a regulation, allowing the next step of the process to start, which is in the form of a letter. It's not an order in council, it's in the form of a letter, the regulation. Then it comes back to regional council, and regional council has an opportunity to vote on the bylaw that is a result of the recommendation or the resolution at council about the composition of council. Once that bylaw has passed through the region, there has to be a public meeting and the public consultation. Then once that's happened, the bylaw goes to each of the area municipalities for consent, and that's where the triple majority comes in. It has to pass by more than a majority of the number of municipalities. So in our case, we have 3 municipalities, so 2 of the 3. And it has to pass by the municipalities that have more than 50% of the population.
The electors.
Yeah, the electors. So, in effect, Mississauga would have to be one of the existing ones. But if I'm just running through the whole triple majority process, and then once it's passed through the triple majority, then it comes back to the region as the bylaw, and we've got ourselves a new. There's no OMB. No.
Yes, yeah.
There could be, but not on the change of composition of council.
Yes, David, and Councillor Gibson also has a point of order, but so David.
Just
go.
on the process, in speaking with the Deputy Minister of the province about this, if the Minister, after the first step where council decides on an option, and then we write to the minister, council writes to the minister and asks that the regulation be changed to, or enacted to allow us to go into the triple majority process, the minister has to post that decision for 45 days and take comments on that decision before it becomes enacted. And then the minister hopefully will give the okay to go ahead. And that's just a concern about the time. That's the first 40. So it's you're talking about 2 months probably from the time the minister makes his mind up, and then we get into the whole timing of public meeting and triple majority. So the sooner this decision is made, the better, because it has to be completely wrapped up by the end of 2017, sealed with a bow in it from the minister.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Now, Councillor Gibson has a point of order, so I'm going to move him up on the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We made a decision here. This is the question to the clerk, I guess. This is communication from the City of Mississauga on their position on something, but yet it says a decision required on this.
Direction, it says.
Direction required.
Sorry, you're right, direction required. But this is communication from the City of Mississauga. They have their opinion on something, and we have ours. So on a point of order, this isn't an item on our agenda. If we want to have a discussion, a debate, then we're going to have that discussion, debate, but it should be put on the agenda. And the mayor just gave their philosophy on what Mississauga thinks, so I'll give you a complete different philosophy on what Brampton speaks. So I don't want this going out into the press, and so Brampton doesn't get a say in all this. Well, in my opinion, we don't have an agenda item here. We have a communication item from Mississauga. So can somebody please rule on that before we decide whether we do or don't open?
So can clerks clarify Councillor Gibson's point of order question? The item is under correspondence, and it does say in 12.4, direction required.
Our procedure bylaw provides that communication items are items on the agenda, and a councillor may bring a motion on any item on the agenda. So it's not for me to rule, but my advice is that it is not out of order if you want to discuss it. The direction required was noted on there to see if you wanted to give direction to staff to say, do you want it added on a further agenda? Do you want to discuss it now? Is there a motion coming? That's why direction required was put on instead of receipt. But under our procedure bylaw, an item of communication is an item on the agenda which is open for discussion.
Even though it's contrary to past council's direction.
The process that I explained before would have to be gone through in order to actually reopen the issue, which with a 2/3 vote, but that's why direction's being sought.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, yeah, I apologize. So Councillor Miles is next.
Okay, thank you very much. Just speaking to the letter, the motion, or the letter from the City of Mississauga to Regional Council and to the Mayor of Mississauga. This subject has been a conversation for a very long time, and the time for collaboration was really through the facilitation process that everybody underwent. The City of Brampton is not willing and has no desire to change its position. We believe strongly that our municipality is underrepresented at the region of Peel. We also accept the fact that we will never get where we need to be through the legislation that requires a triple majority at Regional Council. We did take the opportunity when we went to AMO to speak to the parliamentary assistant, to the Minister of Municipal Affairs on the issue. We were very clear. We are looking for provincial intervention on this issue, because we accept the fact that we are not going to get fair representation at the region of Peel through the triple majority legislation. We've accepted that. So I personally would not be moving to reopen the question. I just want to make it very clear that the City of Brampton will be moving forward and will be continuing to ask the Premier of this province to intervene on the behalf of the residents of the region of Peel and the City of Brampton in regards to the whole governance issue here. So we're hopeful that that direction will be forthcoming from the province. So with that, I would move receipt of the letter.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Miles. Mayor Jeffrey.
Could I ask that we have a recess? Because at the end of the day, this has just been put on the table. I didn't know exactly what was going to be said about the correspondence. And I appreciate that Mayor Crombie is trying to get us to have this conversation again, but we have been having it for months. And I cannot speak for my council sitting around this table in this public setting. I believe we deserve an opportunity to confer about what we collectively would like to do on a go-forward basis. So I ask for a recess.
So,
That's actually apparently up to me to
count-
call, and
oh,
if
is it?
you'd like
Okay.
a recess, why don't we recess for 20 minutes? No, 10 minutes? We could have lunch. All right, 10 minutes. Is that okay with everybody?
10
Okay, we're
minutes.
recessed for 10 minutes. Does somebody have to move recess? She did. Okay.
come out of recess. Okay, so the motion on the floor is from Gail Miles, which is for receipt of the correspondence. Councillor Pelletier.
Mr. Speaker, call the question.
Moved by Gail Miles, Councillor Miles, seconded by Councillor Pelletier. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Business, Brampton Meals on Wheels. Councillor Medeiros.
Thank you, through the chair. It's just a direction. I've spoken to the Commissioner Smith, and I think it's just Brampton Meals on Wheels are dealing with a capacity issue regarding accreditation. I think that's being required by the LINs. So I think the Commissioner, if you just want to speak to.
Sure, through you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the heads up because I was able to get some information. Yes, under the accountability agreements that the LINs have with the community sports service agencies, they are requiring that all those agencies go through an accreditation process by the end of 2017. For organizations like us, we have the resources to do that. I've spoken to staff, and in fact, the Caledon Meals on Wheels had already reached out to us to have asked for some assistance, and we are helping them. So we will connect with Brampton Meals on Wheels and look at what we can do to help them.
Okay, satisfied? And I'm sorry, 13.1 was complaints, concerns
No, actually-
received on the issue of waste management collection services. Councillor Fonseca.
Thank you, through you, Madam Acting Chair. Actually, I had sent communication to remove that.
Okay,
Remove
it's-
that item, so
it's
it
removed.
is removed, yeah.
The
Thank you.
in-camera decision that the recommendation contained within the confidential report relating to item 16.1 listed on the September 22nd, 2016 Regional Council agenda be approved and become public upon adoption. Will someone move it, please? Councillor McFadden, seconded by Councillor Gibson. Any questions? All those in favor? Okay. Bylaws. No? Yes. Bylaw 46, 2016, to confirm the proceedings of Regional Council at its meeting held September 22nd, 2016, to authorize the execution of documents in accordance with the Region of Peel bylaws relating thereto, be given the required number of readings, taken as read, signed by the acting regional chair and the regional clerk, and the corporate seal be affixed thereto. Moved by Councillor Mahoney, seconded by Councillor Kovac. All those in favor? Okay. That the September 22nd, 2016 Regional Council meeting be adjourned. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Moore. All those in favor? Perfect. Thank you.